Qualified business owner, I know this won't affect a lot of you, but again, if you're, do some consulting, you have a business, you're a partner in a partnership that has a profit. For some rentals that you put enough time in, say you have a profit from that rental, a member of an S corporation or LLC, a brand new deduction off taxable income, 20% of that profit, which I'll show you an example in a second. Now, there's a caveat. If your income is over $305,000 married, it gets complicated. If you're single on income over 157, it gets complicated. There's extra requirements on service business, there's phase outs, all of that. But we're going to show you a sample one because for certain people, it's kind of cool. And this takes effect in 2018. So we're showing 2017, 2018. We're showing a married couple, they have wages of 50. One of them has a business at 20, and they have a rental that nets 10. So their AGI's 80. They didn't itemize, so they got a 12,000 standard deduction in 2017. Personal exemptions 8,100. Taxable income 59,000. Tax would have been about 8,000. 2018, the income's the same. The standard deduction's more because again they doubled it for 2018. No exemptions though. Remember they took away the $4,050. Brand new deduction, $6,000. What that is, if you add up the business and rental, that's $30,000. 20% that's $6,000. So that comes off, brand new deduction, tax quite a bit lower. So again, for certain people, kind of makes sense, and what entity to be, all kind of complicated.
Would you go over that again, how they
Yeah.
got that 6,000?
Yeah, so if we took the business income of 20 plus the rental income of 10, those are both qualified pass-through incomes. 20% of that is 6,000. So, you know, another example, if all your income was 100,000 from a business, that could be a $20,000 deduction. You know, so it's 20% of this. I think it's pass-through income. But again, businesses count, not wages from a business, but if you're a sole proprietorship, LLC, partnership, rental properties getting clarified, it looks like you have to spend 250 hours during the year of managing it or paying people to do it. But it's pretty cool for certain people.
Can I go back to something that you said
Yeah.
about the charitable, qualified charitable deduction?
Mm-hmm.
I've been selling the stock, well, through Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
Vanguard's been selling it, and it's been donated. The money isn't given to me, they write the check out to the person who's
Right.
receiving it, well,
Yeah.
the entity that's receiving it. Are you saying that I could just transfer that Vanguard stock without selling it to the entity?
The donor advised fund, then the donor advised fund sells it and not pays
Oh, I
any
have to
tax.
set up a donor advised fund?
Yeah, that's for charity, exactly.
I see.
Yeah, but again, for the right people, it makes a whole lot of difference for her, because she had like $80,000 of capital gains and that $100,000 of Exxon stock.
And who is the donor advised fund? Where is that?
It depends, like I know Schwab does them, Vanguard, I'm pretty sure they must. You know, we use SEI doesn't. So then you pick up a foil for that to hold that in.
Okay, so the money goes into that, and then it goes,
Yeah, and again, it could go out in 10 years, whatever, and then if you have it, if you pass away, you can appoint the next successor trustee, which would be one of your kids to manage that. So again, kind of like a private foundation, but a lot less paperwork. It doesn't file a tax return or any of that kind of stuff. So kind of neat. Yeah.
Is there, on that donor fund, is there some kind of time limitation on it?
Not that I know of, no, I think, no.
Really, so you could actually stick stuff in there and...
Now, don't hold me to that, because there might, now you say that might be that something has to go out within 5 years or something.
Yeah, that would be strange if they would
Yeah.
actually just let you park money and then just
Yeah.
sort of, or stock and then just sort of
Yeah,
like...
but
ignore it.
eventually, you can never take it back, so that's
Right.
the other thing. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you're right, I think, that now you bring it up, there probably is something, but I forget. So just some basics, most of you probably have this, but it's amazing when we do financial plans, financial checkup, how many people have not done the basic estate planning. How many people don't have a living trust, don't have this one? To me, that's the most important one, the financial durable power of attorney. You should have a health one too. But basically, if you can't make your own decisions, who do you want to make decisions for you? Otherwise, if you're a married couple, even your spouse might have to go get a conservatorship, for you to make those decisions. Is this a one-page thing for health and financial? I think anybody over 18 should have that. Advanced health care, living well, I think you know what that is. That helps that health person make those decisions. How much life support, how much this, organ donation, all of that kind of stuff. Everybody should have a will. If you have a living trust, it's a pour of a will addressing everything that's not in a trust. If you have real estate or a sizable estate, living trust sure makes sense. It avoids probate, which probate is huge. It saves attorney fees. It means it goes a lot quicker. It's not public like probate is. And it could take effect, during your lifetime if you're incapacitated. That trustee can take over. So just some basic. I'm not a estate planning expert, but do them. Little more on protection plan. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the possibility of people getting a special needs trust.
Oh, yeah.
If you're responsible for other people in your life, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know about.
Yeah, that's especially if they're getting governmental assistance, from Medi-Cal or something, how to help that person and not jeopardize that. So a special needs trust could do it. You could even, I've had it done for spouses too, where the one, was getting dementia or whatever, and we knew couldn't go caregiving, how to, transfer money to the special needs trust to maintain that eligibility. But yes. A little bit here, I won't spend much time. Emergency fund, conventional wisdom says 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in a boring bank account, just against the what ifs. We get asked that quite a bit. Long-term care, that could be a whole workshop. To me, that's the biggest risk in retirement. Health insurance doesn't cover for somebody to take care of you or assisted living. Medicare will cover up to 90 days, that's it. It's just a huge risk. Whether you leverage by looking into insurance, which is costly and hard, decision, whether that's when you use the equity of your home with a reverse mortgage, what have you, or you self-fund or use family, friends, you just need to address that risk that's on the table. Government will only cover you pretty much if you qualify for Medi-Cal, which you never want to have to qualify for Medi-Cal, because then you pretty much have nothing. These others, when you're working, yeah. Sorry. Umbrella liability. If you have a net worth of $1 million, you should have liability coverage on your car and autos of that $1 million. Because if you got sued, they'll probably sue you for your net worth. So umbrella liability is a really easy way to up your liability. So to talk to your agent who does your car and auto, again, look at it. For $1 million, it might cost you $300 a year for that $1 million. And what it does, it starts where the car and house ends. So if they car and house go up to 500, the umbrella combines them and starts at 500 to $1 million. But you should have your net worth. Reverse mortgage. I probably have 3 more slides. Oh, God, sorry. Okay, reverse mortgage. Judy really wanted me to talk to this. I'm not an expert. I'm not a reverse mortgage guy, but I don't think they're evil. So we've recommended that some clients work well. I would not use one to buy a house, to invest the money, or anything like that. But I'll tell you where we use them. But it is a loan based on the home equity value. It does not need to be paid off until you leave the house. If you move or sell the house or you die, it needs to be paid. Requirements, you need to be at least 62. You need to live in the house. Again, the types of houses, most of your homes will qualify, not laid on federal debt. You have to get some counseling from HUD. Anybody you do a reverse mortgage will set you up on all that. How much can you get? Hate to say it depends on your age, mortgage rate, and property value. The older you are, the higher your house is worth, the more you can get. You could receive the money as a lump sum or monthly payments. You get a line of credit, and just take checks out. You could get a lump sum, what have you. Can really help people. Ways you could use it: standby cash reserve. Hey, I just want to have this in case I need it. Again, it could be a line of credit. You just write a check against it. Supplement monthly income. Hey, I just need an extra money. We're going to get this line of credit and take a $500 a month. Okay. To make home repairs. Yes. This is the one where we've used it some. Is that like a couple, a client of ours, Frenchman's Creek, been in the house forever, has about a $250,000 mortgage, wants to stay in the home forever, but that payments on a $250,000 mortgage is killing them. They just get Social Security. They want to get rid of that. So they did a reverse mortgage to pay off that mortgage. So now they no longer have that outflow, and they're using the equity in a home to retire that home. So that's pretty good for them. Now that loan is going to accumulate interest, on it at a probably higher rate than the old loan did, but it allows them to stay in a home comfortably. So we've used it there. To downsize, you could use a reverse mortgage to purchase a new home too. So that works. Yeah.
So if you're gonna downsize, you're gonna move into your new home, I take it, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't that trigger the?
Yeah, you'd have to get rid of that one.
If you do that, doesn't that trigger the end of the reverse?
The payment of that one, but you could use it to buy your new one, if it qualifies. Now, maybe you won't qualify as much, kind of transfer, you can almost transfer into the new one, if that makes sense. And,
okay.
yeah,
So-
and the numbers gotta work to do that, but,
Yeah, okay, I'm not sure how that would work,
Yeah.
rather than just taking out a regular
yeah.
mortgage.
Yeah, and, well, I guess example, if you sold yours, you could purchase a new, cheaper one with a reverse mortgage. You're right, that old one will have to get settled within the number, and the numbers need to work, but it probably would.
Okay.
Some pros and cons. There's probably more cons than this, partly because of the way they've been used, in the past. And I've seen them being used that way. But one, expected higher cost. To get a reverse mortgage, you're gonna say, God, I gotta pay $12,000, $13,000 just to get it, even if I'm not gonna borrow the money now. It's there. The interest rates variable will be higher. Some of them are gonna be variable for those equity lines or the line of credit. So you're just gonna have to go through that. You have to maintain financial obligations. The house has to stay in good repair, paying the taxes, insurance. Again, if you move away or pass away, it has to get settled. So again, it's a way to access that equity. The other way I've seen it used is for long-term care. They wanted to stay there, but they couldn't afford a caregiver. So to use it for that seemed reasonable. The one I didn't like was the other day, somebody said they were being presented and said, oh, we're gonna give you a checkbook and just write checks, No, that's not, or, hey, go invest that and try to earn more. No, don't do that, but,
Excuse me?
yeah.
If you have two members, they're relatives,
Mhm.
one's older, they're both on the title. Okay, in order to get more out of the money, the older person would have to go for the reverse. But the other person would have to be taken off, wouldn't they? They could not stay on that.
Now you're proving I'm not an expert, because I'm not gonna
On
guess.
on the deed.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to know.
Yeah.
Because then the other person, okay, will lose out in a sense on quite a few things.
My guess is they both still would be liable.
On the deed?
Yes, that's my guess, but I hate guessing. We could find out the answer. I got like 4 reverse mortgage people who want to see me every month. So I could just ask them. We'll find out. But,
Okay.
exclusion, just quickie, if you have your house, you've owned it for 2 out of 5 years and you live there as your primary residence. If you sell it, you could exclude $250,000 a gain. For you and your spouse. So pretty cool. You don't have to buy something else like you used to. Doesn't matter what you do with the money. Again, big things, live there 2 out of 5 years. Last 5 years is your principal residence. So I have some people who are experimenting, maybe moving out of the state. So they're renting this one for a while, renting there, long as they don't rent it for more than 3 years, they're gonna get most of their $250 exclusion. So there is some flexibility. Now, if you have more than $500,000 a gain, you know, as a couple, yeah, you'll have to pay long-term capital gains at that rate. But the tax act didn't change that. Property tax, I'm not gonna read this to you, but I think you know the county, if you're 55 and over and you sell and you buy something within 2 years at a lower price than what you sold for, with some exceptions, you could transfer your property tax. Proposition 60 says the same county, San Mateo is one of them. 90 says there's 10 other counties down here that reciprocal that. There was a big Prop 5 or whatever was trying to get it everybody, but didn't pass. Social Security, I'm not gonna go here very much. We might give a workshop later this year. Our clients, that's what they request most is Social Security workshop. So if we do, Judy, I'll let you know. We probably will. But a couple of things, it's based on your top 35 years of working, paying into Social Security, indexed by inflation. You need to have 40 quarters. Big one here though, please don't take early unless you have to. You could take at 62, but you take a 25 to 30% haircut forever. And that impacts the COLA adjustment that they do every so often. Every year you wait past your full retirement, you get 8% more. So you wait to age 70, you could get up to 32% more for the rest of your life. But again, your circumstance would judge that. What is your cash flow? What is your health? So on. Almost done. Don't worry about that. Medicare, even worse. I think you probably all know, 65, you need to start thinking about it. You need to get a Medigap plan or medical advantage. I just think I'd be boring you, most of you went through that. It doesn't cover long-term care. Again, long-term care, some point address. I will say we do insurance. I'm crappy at it because I don't like insurance, but I think we do it the right way.
It also doesn't cover you if you're out of the country.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Your
Yeah,
Medigap might.
yeah.
I didn't hear that, Ron?
It said that Medicare does not cover you if you're out of the country, if you travel a lot.
You're out of country, Sean. Okay.
But your Medigap might cover you. It
Right.
depends on the policy.
Right.
But if you have senior advantage and you're with an HMO,
I'm gonna have
cover
you
it.
guys teach that class when I come.
Depends on the.
I remember I studied so hard when I presented a Medicare one, and there were still clients who knew more than me. It is complicated. It's amazing how complicated it is. Go ahead. You done? All right. He's going to talk about his, how old is he? When do you want to end?
When you're through.
It is 2 o'clock. I'm very engrossed and engaged, and I don't see anybody trying to leave. So if anybody needs to leave, fine, but I think we're ready to
Okay, because
continue.
I think John has about 10 minutes on
Yeah.
investments, and then he's going to go back to Maverick just to show you what some things did. I think that'd be fun. But please don't stay for us. You know, if you're done getting any kind of value, please don't stay. Yeah.
So are you still gonna talk about 1031 exchanges?
Oh, I wasn't going to, but I'll talk with you after.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna point out one thing, is on a 1031 exchange, it's a like-kind exchange. So you have rental property. You can take that rental property, you could turn it into your primary residence,
Right.
and you can get the 500, let's say you're married. You
Yeah.
get the $500,000 off when you sell it, if you've been in there for 2 out
Yeah.
of the 5 years,
I
right?
agree.
If you have 10 rental properties, you can just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So that'd be $5 million that you didn't get taxed on.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you later. One thing they did do is for that 250, you gotta put the number of years that it was as a rental compared to a residence, and then you get that ratio of the
They did
250.
this on the new tax.
No, they did it a couple years ago, so they kinda addressed that some, but it still doesn't hurt.
It's still an amazing
Yeah.
thing. It's like,
Yeah, I agree. All right, investment.
All right, so I'll go quick to try to get back on track here. So investing can be super complicated. We're just going to try to keep it as simple as possible. What is investing? It's the act of committing money or capital with the expectation of obtaining an additional income or profit. Why would you invest? Pretty self-explanatory. The goal of investing is to put your money So it works for you in hopes of growing that money over time. Things that you want to consider when you're investing, your age and the time horizon of that goal or that portfolio, the goal and the importance of what you want to invest for, your risk tolerance, that's a huge one, basically. How much of a roller coaster are you okay accepting or not accepting? If you look at your statement and you see it gone down 5%, are you okay with that or not? So we want to make sure we get somebody in a correct portfolio. And understanding your complete financial picture. Next, we're going to talk about some different investments. Again, we're just going to keep it nice and simple today. Stocks. So if you buy a stock, you are now an owner of that company. And you're investing in the future and the imagination of that company to make money and increase its value. Okay, so if I'm purchasing shares of Apple, I'm basically investing that Apple is going to do the things they need to so I can sell it at a profit down the road. The other main way people invest is bonds. When you're investing in bonds, you're owning another entity's debt. You're essentially working as the bank in that scenario. Corporations can issue bonds, states can issue bonds, governments can issue bonds, but you are a debt holder. If you're owning stocks and that company goes out of business, you're probably not going to get anything left out of it. If you own debt or you own a bond and that company goes out of business, you're somewhere on that totem pole, so you'll probably get something back. Probably not your whole investment, but you're a credit holder, so you'll get paid back before the shareholders do. Bond or mutual funds. Mutual funds is a pooled investment vehicle managed by an investment manager that provides an easy way to diversify. So let's say I have $1,000 and I want to invest that, I can buy a couple stocks with that. Or I could buy a mutual fund where now that mutual fund might have 100, 200, or 1,000 different stocks under the hood. And that investment manager is buying and selling each day to try to create value in that. Now you have to pay a fee when you invest in a mutual fund, and you won't see it unless you kind of dig in the prospectus. The average cost of an equity mutual fund is around 1% or so. And again, you won't see it, it's kind of buried in the prospectus. The other main way people invest are index funds. So that's a type of mutual fund that is constructed to match or track a particular market index. The most common one that you probably hear of is the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is the 500 biggest companies in the US, and it's weighted accordingly. So if Apple has the highest weight, it's going to have the highest weight in the S&P 500. It's a more passive way to invest because, again, you're investing in that index, and it's just going to follow what the index does. The biggest advantage to that is costs. Okay, the cost for an index fund could be as low as 0.1% or lower. So that's the biggest advantage for using that. And then the other ones, just briefly, alternative investments, real estate, oil, gas, commodities, gold, and currency funds, etc. But those are kind of the main investments there. Investment risks, of course, when you invest, there are risks associated to it. First one is market risk. As we all know, investments can go down. The stock market can go down. We saw that in December, the tail end of December, the stock market went down. We saw that in 2007, 2008. It went all the way, went down 40, 50%. Interest rate risks. Interest rates can go up and down, and that does have the biggest trigger on bond prices. So bonds go up and down mainly based on interest rates. So you have interest rate risk. Credit risk. Risk that the company might go out of business. So again, if we look at governments, the U.S. can issue bonds. Those are, of course, going to be much safer than like an Iranian bond. So you're going to have some credit risk involved in that. Of course, the U.S. bond, they have to pay less on their interest rate because it's so safe and secure. That Iranian bond is going to pay you a higher interest rate, but of course it's more risky. That could go out of business a lot easier. Liquidity risk. Some investments, mainly real estate and annuities, you can't access those very quickly. Okay, so we always want to make sure that clients have enough short-term money. And you see that, some clients that are just real estate rich but cash poor. It's hard to turn that real estate into liquid funds or an annuity. Concentration risk, that's it. Again, if you have all your eggs in one basket, maybe I just own real estate, or I'm invested in just 5 different stocks, and that's a risk that I have on the table. Inflation risk, losing purchasing power because the value of your investment does not keep up with inflation. So we always say if inflation is going up 3%, and let's say I have my money and I'm just super conservative and I'm just going to stick it all in the bank. The problem with that is, again, if it's a long-term investment, put it in the bank, maybe it's earning 1, the cost of everything up around me is going up 3% a year. So I'm essentially losing purchasing power, or the saying we say is, you're going broke safely. So any long-term investment will at least keep up with inflation. This is a busy chart, but I really like it. I think it does a good job of explaining different investments and how they act and how they behave. So I'm going to go through it quickly here. Feel free to stop me if I'm going too quick. But it's called an Ibbotson chart. And how it works is here on the left side, these are dollars. Here it's years. So we're basically going back to 1926 and tracking these different investments and what they did all the way through 2014. So the first one is this gray line, which is inflation. Of course, in the Great Depression, we had deflation, but anything that used to cost $1 now costs $13, or about 3% a year. So again, that's a pretty good, accurate representation of what inflation is now. The next one, Treasury bills, backed by the full faith of the U.S. government, traditionally the safest investment in the world. Kind of think of this as a CD. So it's that green line, starts at 1, you see it's this nice flat ride, not much volatility, not much ups and downs. That $1 turns into 21, or about 3.5% a year. Okay, interest rates have gone up, but you're still on a CD rate, it's probably close to about 2% or so these days. Next one is long-term government bonds, which would also parallel corporate bonds. So you'll see here it's that orange line, pretty steady. There is some ups and downs, there's some volatility there, but again, pretty safe, pretty linear line. So that $1 turns into 125 or 35, or about 5% a year. Again, it's probably close to about 3 or 4 nowadays. Then the other way, of course, to invest is by buying stocks. So the first one, the light blue line, is large cap stocks. These would be the big companies like the Walmarts, the GEs, the Apples, the big established companies. So it's that light blue line. Of course, you lose a ton of money in the Great Depression. You know, up and down, it's rocky. You know, 2007, 2008, that's actually a 45% drop. But you'll see that $1 turns into $5,317, or about 10% a year. Small cap stocks, more risk, more reward, because there's a higher chance they could go out of business, or they could make it rich. So again, you lose a ton of money, you'll see it's rocky, up, down, up, down, up, down. But that $1 turns into $27,000, or about 12% a year. So over any 10-year period, historically, stocks outperform bonds, but inside that 10-year period, it could get a little hairy. So one of our biggest jobs is to figure out how much of your portfolio do we put in the stocks, the growth portion? How much do we put in the conservative portion, the bond portion? And bonds and fixed income are called the same thing. We believe in diversification. Okay, so a diversified portfolio ideally would hold all these different things inside your one portfolio. Bonds, again, bonds and fixed income are the same thing. Large cap stocks, again, those are the big companies. Mid cap stocks, small stocks. International, if that last chart had an international, it would be similar to that small cap stock, but it would be really rocky. Real estate, specialty, blah, blah, blah. This is a look at what some sample portfolios might look like here. So if we're in a conservative portfolio, it might be 70% fixed income again, or bonds, means the same thing. 20% stocks, 10% cash. A more moderate portfolio might be 50% stocks and 50% bonds. Moderately aggressive, 65% stocks, 35% bonds. Aggressive, 80-20. So again, it depends on what the goal of the money is. So if I'm, targeting some house repairs that I want to make in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm probably going to invest it conservative because I don't want it to go. I don't know what the stock market is going to do in the next 2 to 3 years. So I want to make it more conservative so I don't have to sell at a loss. Maybe if I'm looking to buy a house and say I got 5 to 10 years, and I'm going to go with a moderate strategy. If we're looking at retirement accounts, like me and my dad, we are different age. His IRA money, his retirement money, again, is long term because it needs to get him to and last through retirement. So we always want to be more aggressive with the retirement money because we know it's more long term. So this might be what his retirement looks like, 65% stocks. I'm a little younger than him, so I can handle some of that rockiness because I know, again, over any 10-year period, stocks should outperform bonds. So I'm going to be invested more like this for my retirement account. So we really want to look at everything more looking at this.